Sure, you popped in this video and you're wondering how you get these going and how you get these going. You know what I mean? You want to learn how to mash. Don't worry, I got you. So the first part in which we want to go over, I want to make sure that I go over how to mash when your opponent does something overtly negative, okay? i.e. punishable. So when your opponent does something that is punishable, right? So this is an example of it. If we're aware of the situation here where she is -8, right? We want to make sure that we understand frame data so that based on what button we decide to press, we can actually hit the punish on them, right? So in these cases, they do it a little bit too close. We can actually get a standing medium punch punish if I'm not terrible. There you go, right? So obviously in these cases, we might not be able to get the crouch jab mash, but the only crouching jab is not the only way to try and get out of a situation using a button, aka mash, right? Obviously naturally we can try and do that, but it's a little bit hard to confirm naturally, right? So what we can do is that instead of just immediately gravitating towards a crouch jab mash, we can spot out the situation and go for a punish that way, right? So with that being said, let's move on to the next part here. So the next part is when they do it and they're safe, okay? Obviously this was a situation where they were overtly negative. However, what happens when they are safe? In the cases when they're safe, you want to try and take your turn in a way, either if you want to get started that way. This is also a way that some people get started, right? This is a way to get started as well. But if you feel as though you just want to take space or just remove yourself from them, sometimes it's good to do something like that where you go for the crouch jab, either crouch jab and walk back, or you try to go crouch jab into crouch and medium kick or drive rush or whatever have you, right? Some folks will go for crouch jab into drive rush and kind of want to get their party started that way, right? This is also an option for you as well. They're in your face. Once they block the situation out, they're in a worse situation than they were before. But ideally, this is where you want to take your turn and press a button and try to mash out of a situation, just because it is no longer, they don't have the option of trying to press something afterwards, right? Because if they try to do something like crouch jab or stand jab or something like that, they just get hit for it, right? They'll just get hit for it. And we want to make sure that they're not getting away with something that is fraudulent on you, because obviously the more opportunities you give them, the more opportunities you give them to kill you. So if you clicked on this video, I'm sure you need some help. Lord knows I did at some point. But here's the thing, you want your favorite content creators to come and help you, but let's be real, they're charging like $60 per hour. You don't need that. But when I got you good. Over on this channel, I do free coaching sessions on Tuesdays and on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. EST. So what does that look like? I essentially go over your matches. I give you tools so that you can succeed the next time you open up rank. So once again, join my Discord. Wait till I'm live either on Tuesdays or on Thursdays 6:30 p.m. EST. Be there or be square. And yeah, I'm not your favorite pro, but I'm available. Those pros are not available. So once again, join the live, get better, and I'll help you improve. Back to the video. So with that being said, let's move on to the next part. So when you have noticed a fake pattern. Now, with that being said, I do want to mention the fact that this does in fact require basic knowledge of frame data, okay? So what I mean, if you watched my jab video, you would know that this is technically true, right? Because it, even though it is -2 or -3, I think hers might be -2, but because these are negative, right, you should be able to mash after them, but you're actually not. However, because it's a cancel of sorts, because that is the case, that means that they can press it continually without being interrupted, at least until they're out of range. So what some people like to do is that they like to take advantage of this and go for something like this, right? In these cases, if you notice that your opponent is consistently going for something like jab into standing medium punch, what you want to start doing is interrupting the standing medium punch, because this is not real. The only thing that is real off of this situation is if you go from this, or if you go into something like into stand jab or stand light kick. These are options that are afforded to you a little bit more, but I honestly even stand that light kick is not even good either, right, man? But ideally, these are the only situations where you technically get it. So if you notice your opponent's going for something fraudulent, you can take advantage of that. But again, you need to make sure that you're watching your opponent and actually engaging with what they're doing. If you just see jab and you immediately try to mash out of it, even though you know they're doing something like this. Oh, I am missing my light kick into DP. But with that being said, let's move forward, right? If you know they're continually going for that, you need to make sure that you're checking them for it, because this is a lot of extra pressure or a lot of extra room you're giving them, because now if you block out this situation, now they're +2 in your face. In your face relative, obviously, but they can naturally, they'll press a button, and because you know that she's plus in this situation, you're less likely to try and mash. Okay, with that being said, I do want to incorporate a couple of things that you should not mash on, and it's situations where you should not, in all caps, I repeat, you should not mash in the corner against throw loop characters. Okay, so what does that mean? That means in the case where you're in the corner and your opponent is set to wake up mash, because that is you, if you're trying to get out of the throw loop, your option is not to try and go for crouch jab. Because there are throw loops in this game, it does not allow you to get away with this for free, right? Naturally, I'm missing my timing because I'm speaking, but with that being said, like, you don't get away with this. So if you're going to try and get out of the corner, especially if you feel as though your opponent is trying to throw loop you, the option that you should gravitate towards is either a forward jump, right? Either A, forward jump, or B, if you're feeling a little spicy with it, you can do backdash. Because backdash, technically you get out the situation, and because she's expecting you to either get thrown or tech, she's not ready for the follow-up button. Your opponent won't be ready for the follow-up button. Okay, however, you trying to mash out the situation is a little bit ill-advised, especially what if your opponent even tries to shimmy you. You might be caught out in those situations trying to press on that as well, and it won't look very good if you're kind of getting hit in those situations. Ideally, your health bar will be looking kind of empty, you feel. So with that being said, let's move on to cases where they are +1. So in cases where you're +1, you want to be careful how you mash. Okay, this ties back into watching your opponent and what they're doing, and I think a good example of this is when you're fighting Ken. This is normally towards my plats and diamonds. For my masters folk, they're gonna change up their game, but if you truly feel like they're going for this option, this is available to you. But I doubt masters are watching this video because they feel nice about themselves. Anyways, with that being said, so in cases like this, right, if they try to go for a throw off of this situation, if you notice your opponent's going for Dragon Lash into throw a lot, then we can try and mash out the situation. If we know that our opponent is going for it a lot, right, we can try to mash out of it. However, if your opponent is doing something like this, then this is not a situation where you want to try and mash because they're plus, right? So this is all about scoping out the opponent that you're fighting, right? Naturally, you don't want to necessarily find your way in this position because you want to enact your countermeasures against it and close off this option, right? So when you notice that you notice when Ken players are doing this a lot, you want to try and punish them for it by doing this, right? Or if you feel like the eye's too committal, we can go for a parry attempt as well, right? Ideally, if you're found in that situation, then you're gonna have to deal with something, right, where you have to guess out the situation. Now, if you do feel like your opponent's going for crouch jab mash afterwards, you can also try and parry the situation that comes afterwards. Naturally, this comes with risk because if they start trying to throw, I'm just providing options for you on both ends of the spectrum, and this is ideally where you want to try and mash out of a situation if you feel as though your opponent is truly going for something fake. But in order to scout out what is something fake, you guys do need to spend time in the lab. You need to practice situations after you finish on ranked. Either practice the situations you found yourself in and figure out whether the situations are real or they're fake, right? If your opponent is always showing you the fact that they go for that option, then we should be trying to shut down this option however we can. However, we do find ourselves in situations where we have to block, then we just got to make sure that we do it in the best way possible. Okay, I hope this helps you guys. Appreciate you watching the video. I have a whole bunch of guys in the back there. I dare you to check it out. I dare you. All right, guys, have a good one, y'all. Peace.